Good evening, and thank you for hosting me in your program. Actually, the situation is fragile up to the date. It's too difficult to predict what will going on. But Paris conference is still, as you mentioned, a very important step forward. But the problem is there is no consensus, no among Arab countries, no among international parties, among them even Europe. There is no consensus about what will going on in Syria and what should be in Syria. The most important players now or parties, Turkey, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia. Yes, they are all allies for US, but unfortunately, although that each of them has its own agenda. So we are facing different agendas for regional powers, for international powers. Even within the EU itself, there is no such consensus. Some mention that it is time to help Syria to push it forward ahead, and some countries also still doubt about what is going on, like Cyprus, still doubt about what is going on, and that it is important to wait and see much more. So it is fragile and many contradiction, but still a important step to normalize the situation of Syria regionally and internationally as well.
So, with the United States foreign aid now frozen, what role can European and Arab nations play in Syria's reconstruction?
The problem, really, it is the United States. United States last month, early January, released some of its sanctions, but not all sanctions. Still, Qatar Act, which is the most harmful for Syria, still exists. And I didn't think that within such a situation and that Qatar Act still exists, I don't think that so many countries can really help Syria. They have already aid from Turkey, from Qatar, Saudi Arabia also promised, but internationally that would not help a lot. Unless the United States didn't change or wouldn't change its position and left all sanctions on Syria. And I didn't think that United States will do that in the scene, but maybe later on, maybe after Paris conference, but I think it will connect it with what will going on Syria. Next month, it should be a new government in Syria. And Ahmed Shara promised that it will represent all powers, political actors, Syrian one. But actually, the conference itself didn't have representatives from courts, for example. So it doesn't seem that the new government would really represent the whole political power, Syrian political powers. So I think it's too early also to judge, but hopefully all the promises will be fulfilled and the next government really represent whole Syrian powers and the political parties and all the people in Syria. This is very important to calm the doubts internationally and regionally.
But do you think that France and its allies can successfully lift sanctions to pave the way for Syria's economic revival?
Actually, the EU not in a good economic situation, and generally the EU is also review and revising all aid, even what that given to Ukraine. They also trying to judge it and evaluate it. So and the most important countries, the big big economic powers within the EU, like Germany and even France. I think that economically the situation is not going that much good within them, and they have a lot of challenges. So it is not easy for EU to give that much aid to Syria. And I think that Conference of Paris, it is a political more than economic, although they said that it is for economic aid to Syria, etc. But I think it's much more political. And to redirect, if it is the right word, the attitudes of the new government toward more democratic or more tolerant government in the future. And after that, after the new system or the new government in Syria prove that it is for all Syrian, and it would be stability and security within Syria, maybe they will look for aid and for lifting sanctions. What I think the EU is very interested in to have stability and security in Syria. This is a top agenda, top European agenda, because they really want to release the migrants' burden from.
Exactly. It's the migration problem that is loading European countries. Yes.
Yes, this is true.
So, Professor, what impact might the United States military's uncertain role in Syria have on the ongoing political transition?
The United States military presence in Syria, it is not that much. It is around 2,000 soldiers. And they are concentrated in El Tanaf and in the north area of Korch. But I think that United States, there is no plans to withdraw totally from Syria. I remember that Trump, in his first term, he mentioned that 100 days and United States will totally leave Syria. And later on, I think the Pentagon, CIA advised him that it is not the right decision. So I didn't think that it is not, the United States will going to leave Syria that easy. I think it will maintain its presence by way or another, particularly in the oil or around the oil fields.
Yes. So, what are the key challenges in coordinating aid for Syria's war-torn infrastructure and displaced populations?
Syria now nearly totally destroyed, and it has no infrastructure, oil for people, at least electricity, water. All infrastructure for different kinds, I think now it is totally nearly destroyed, and it needs a huge amount of investments. It needs also technology to able to rebuild such infrastructure. So I think Syria, first of all, or the first step, or to lift or to leave sanctions, and to give enough investments. They need investments, not just aid or loans, because loans and aid will give more and more burden on the Syrian government. But it is better to be investments for the infrastructure.